While scrolling on TikTok, I found another troll infection AU that I think is super underrated. It was created by Xan.Inks, and I think the artwork is super unique, and I actually really enjoyed it. Now, this one starts off with Poppy walking around in the woods when she hears her sister and Clay calling out for her, telling her that they actually found Creek, who at this point is not supposed to be anywhere near the village. And for those of you wondering why this is, it's basically because Creek betrayed the other trolls when he was caught by Chef, and he was kind of a jerk about betraying them.
Thank you, Poppy. I'm selling you out.
Now, what is interesting about this, though, is that when Poppy actually sees Creek, he looks like absolute crap. Apparently, he's been wandering around in the woods for a while, and when Viva and Clay found him, he became super aggressive and took a bite out of Clay's arm. And when we zoom in here, we can actually see black veins starting to sprout up from Clay's wound. Now, Viva believes that Creek bit Clay because he was starving, so they actually ended up bringing him back to the village before he could hurt any other trolls out in the woods. After that, we see Branch get involved, and he and Poppy are trying to figure out what may have been causing Creek to act this way, and Branch correctly identifies that it isn't simply because Creek ran out of supplies, but something else. And the final slide simply asks, what happened to him out there? And now that we understand how the outbreak started, we can go to the present time where the outbreak has spread, because they actually brought Creek and Clay back into the village, just thinking that Creek was sick and not understanding that Clay was also infected. The first thing that we see is that Branch has taken on the role of doctor and is still testing negative for the infection. And the reason that I think he decided to take point on this mission to find a cure is because Poppy was one of the first trolls to be infected after Creek and Clay. And since Branch has a bunker that's pretty secure and also has a ton of room, he decided to use it as a place to hold the infected and run tests on them. In the next panel, we get to see Branch's notes, and we learn that 3 months have passed since Viva and Clay have been infected, and they are both now at stage 4. We also learn that Poppy is at stage 2 and got infected 2.5 months ago, which gives us a timeline for how long it takes for trolls to become aggressive and start actually attacking each other. We also get to see all the infected trolls that are in the bunker right now, with Legsley and Biggie being at the top, Poppy being on the second floor, and Clay and Viva being at the bottom. Now, one thing that I want to point out though is that it looks like only Stone and Brick are separating Poppy from Viva, and originally I was thinking that Stone is probably not going to stop Viva from getting to her sister if the infection is strong enough, but once I read forward a little bit, I learned that the Brick and the Stone actually got put up later, and I'll come back to this in a moment. First, I want to talk about this page right here that shows us the symptoms of the infection, with stage 1 causing a drop in body temperature and the troll becomes sleepy and lazy. Stage 2 is where they start to lose their color, green veins appear on their bodies, and they start to smell like dirt. Branch doesn't have any information about stage 3 because he didn't actually get to see Viva or Clay in that stage. And since we don't actually see Creek here, we have to assume that he's escaped or something darker happened to him. And finally, we see stage 4, and this is where their body starts to elongate and they start to smell as if they are rotting from the inside out. Now, after that, we get to see this scene of Poppy sleeping when she hears a groan in the distance, and she asks her sister if she's feeling alright. And remember what I said about the tunnel not actually being filled in initially? This is what we see here. And as Poppy starts to sit up and see what's going on with her sister, we get this image of Viva hiding in the darkness of the tunnel, looking as if she's about to lash out at Poppy. Now they leave us on a bit of a cliffhanger there as we get to look at more character sheets, and we see that Legs looks terrible. And she keeps saying that she needs a hug, and more importantly, she needs a friend, which will play an important role in a bit. This page also confirms that Creek did manage to escape and is roaming around the forest, which means that there may be even more infected trolls out there. We also learn that as Legs gets deeper into the infection, she is starting to cry out, but her voice doesn't sound like her own, but rather like a mix between Viva and Clay's. And the only time that she actually speaks to Branch is when she's trying to convince him to come into her room. And what's important about this scene is that it shows us that the infection allows these trolls to mimic others. And this is going to probably mean that they're going to be setting up traps for the uninfected trolls later on. I'm willing to bet my money on it. Next we see Biggie, and it's confirmed that he was infected by Creek, and he actually placed himself into quarantine because he was afraid that he would infect Mr. Dinkles if he didn't. But the longer that he stays here in isolation, his mental health starts to decline. And just like with Legsley, Biggie has started asking Branch to come into his room, and Branch believes that this may be a sign that the infection has a mind of its own and is attempting to spread, and I actually feel the same way. We also get to look at more of Branch's notes and learn that Poppy was infected because she ended up hugging her sister and Viva scratched her during their embrace, showing that the infection can spread through more than just bites. We also see in Poppy's notes that her sister has been getting more and more aggressive, even trying to bite her at one point. And we even have some panels kind of showcasing this. Now, from my understanding, this scene shows us the first time Poppy was attacked by Viva and explains why Poppy eventually had to seal the tunnel between them, which makes way more sense now. Viva was simply getting too violent, and while Poppy wanted to stay close to her sister, she wasn't willing to risk her life for it. And finally, we get this panel that says Creek has been sighted, and then we get a look at him, and he looks absolutely terrifying. Next, we get to see more survivors, starting with Rhythm, who was actually bitten by Creek when the outbreak first started, but she was able to amputate her leg and stop the infection before it could spread. She has also joined the research team alongside Branch and her sister, even going as far as trying to look into other dimensions to find a cure, but having no luck. And just like with Branch, they're using their ships to isolate healthy trolls from the sick trolls, which I take to mean that there are a lot more sick trolls than we actually get to see on the screen. Now, unfortunately, Blues was not as lucky as her sister and is in the first stage with the infection. The good news is that she still seems to have all her sanity, but the bad news is that she is really determined to find a cure, and this fact is actually making her act recklessly. Basically, she isn't fully testing out the cure that she's come up with to make sure that it doesn't have any side effects or that it will actually work in the first place. And based on what we see written here, this proto cure that they came up with is definitely not safe to use. But I can't put all the blame on Blues because we see in this panel that Rhythm is also desperate to make a cure, not wanting to see her sister reach stage 2 of the infection because at that point she'll probably start to lose her. After that, we get to take a look at Rhythm's notes and we learn that the virus seems to originate from a natural source, specifically blood or saliva, although this doesn't actually give us a lot to work with. Basically, this means that we could be dealing with like an actual parasite, or we could be dealing with an infection or a virus. And I'm thinking that this is likely why the trolls are having such a hard time finding a cure and why they need to find Creek, since he's basically like patient zero, and if they can actually test him, they'll be able to get some answers. And if that wasn't bad enough news, we also learned that when the trolls started getting sick, Poppy tried to get the healthy trolls out of town, but what she didn't know was that at that point, there were already a ton of infected trolls hiding out in the woods. And when they saw the healthy trolls actually trying to head to safety, they ambushed them. And based on the note here, we know that Floyd was able to get away, but it seems like a lot of the other trolls did not. And this information right here confirms that the infected trolls in this AU are way more intelligent than we usually get to see in infection AUs. And in my opinion, this makes them more dangerous than a lot of other AUs, because just the fact that they were able to think and ambush the trolls is kind of a big deal. Now, here are a few more details that the creator has dropped so far, the first being that the country, classical, and techno trolls are still free of the infection. And apparently in the future, Laguna is going to play a role in this AU, probably joining the research team. The creator also revealed that the Cloud people and the Bergens are immune to the virus, but the Ragens may actually be vulnerable to it. And we all remember how creepy these guys can look when they get infected. As of right now, this is all the information that we have, but I'm really hoping that this creator finishes his AU. I noticed that a lot of the troll AU creators usually don't finish their AU, and a lot of it is due to the pressure that their community puts on them, and they just kind of get burned out with it. But hopefully they'll come back, because I love the troll infection AUs. They are so good in my opinion. But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, check out this video on the screen here. Subscribe today to become a member of the Ors Force, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Peace, peace.